Hi, it's me, Jacob again. And in this episode, I would like to pick up on a conversation I had on the previous segment of Uncut. And that is what's currently happening within the EFF. But before I give my thoughts on it and respond some of the comments that you guys have said, I promised in the last segment that I will respond to the comments. So in this particular segment, I will respond some of the comments that you guys have made and bring you into the conversation. But before I go into that particular segment, I would like to thank everyone who have subscribed to this channel. I appreciate you dearly. I have now reached 1,000 subscribers. So the next milestone for me is 10,000 subscribers, and then I'm aiming for 100,000. So, but the next milestone is 10,000. A big thanks to my producer, Tender Chiwengwa. He don't let me sleep. This guy rides me like I don't know what, like a racehorse. Or I would be asleep, and he would send me topics at 5 o'clock in the morning. Who is up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Clearly, I'm not working as hard as he's doing, because then he's up and running, driving somewhere, doing very great work. I'm not going to give a shout out to his business. I know he's shy, but big ups to my producer for pushing me to continuously reflect on this. So I would like to get into this episode and briefly talk about the further developments within the economic freedom fighters. So as you would know, there is a break in the EFF, or there was behind the scenes tensions in the EFF that led to the departure of Floyd. And Floyd then went to the MK party. But before Floyd's departure, or when Floyd announced his departure, I was hopeful that he would go for something better than he had in the EFF. So yeah, I was thinking that the bra was recruited to be the president, the next president of the MK party. And as you would remember, in my last segment, I asked Floyd not to trust the Zuma clan. And now that the dust has settled and we know what he got, I'm quite disappointed in his move to the MK party. So for those of you who are not up to date, Floyd got the National Organiser position within the MK party, a party that is a couple of months old, and he named this party a big party in South Africa. The party is only big in KZN, parts of Mpumalanga, and parts of Gauteng, but the rest of the country is not a large party. And I know this is because I looked at the votes that was casted at different voting districts in the last elections. It's not a big party. It's a party that is big amongst the Jacob Zuma followers, the RET faction of the ANC, whatever you would like to name it. So here's the interesting part. So he got this National Organiser's position, which is really not a big impactful position. Yes, he's part of the what they call now, I think, the National Command. He's part of that particular structure, or Central Command. He's part of the Central Command. But what structures and things do they have in place to actually give power to Floyd? So the way I'm seeing it is that the Zuma clan is using Floyd, and what they've learned in the EFF to build branches for the MK party and then later on kick him to the curb. So I'm extremely disappointed is that he could not see through this through these lies of the Zuma clan. Come over and then we'll sort you out. So that's the one view. The other view that I think, and I think, and this is just speculation. I don't know if you guys have watched, but after Julius, or the day Julius made that specific announcement, he was extremely disappointed, he was extremely sad, and he has this deep level of shock in him. And I could see there was a level of betrayal that he felt during that moment when Floyd left. Now, what shows me is that something happened behind the scenes that most probably led to the departure of Floyd and some other senior members of the EFF party. Now, the one thing I've learned this from family and even from friendships. When there is a fight in the family and there is a split and they move somewhere, it's extremely difficult to repair that relationship. So I think as the months and the years would roll on to Floyd, then he will look at this specific moment and realize that it was a mistake. The best for him was to resolve the tension within the EFF, because what I see here is the end of his political career. Within the EFF as deputy president, there was a future. He potentially could have been a deputy minister, a potentially could have been a minister, even a leader of the country in terms of a speaker or even a deputy president. If he stayed and helped Julius and other members of the party build the EFF into a long-term party, reaching out to different sectors in society, be like they were at the beginning when the party started, extremely hardworking. They had a level of grind, and they even went to some of these smallest events just to get the name on there. And as they got bigger, it seemed that they lost that specific drive. If they went back to that with Floyd, I think Floyd might have a bigger career within South African politics. But joining the Zuma clan or the MK, he would never ascend to the leadership of that party. I'm sorry, I'm calling it in 2024. And if I'm wrong, you let me know one day if it's wrong. So let me respond to some of the comments on the channel, because there's some of it that I agree and some that I disagree on the channel. But all of them is extremely interesting conversations. So I would like to first respond to the comment of Rod McDonald. Rod say the EFF is like a cult. If the EFF is like a cult, then their followers wouldn't have been clear thinkers. And I know some of the followers of the EFF, they are some of the clearest thinkers. It's just people who deeply care for South Africa. Now, since Julius is the face of the party, the media portray Julius like a cult figure. But in actual fact, if you go into the different branches and legislative structures and even speaking to the people who support the EFF, then you would see the EFF is really not like a cult. And I'm saying this as a person who do not support any particular political party. I support democracy, and I try to be as objective as possible to all political parties. But I do not agree with Rod's statement that the EFF is a cult. Then you have Una. Una says even Zuma doesn't trust Floyd. How can he trust someone who called for his removal? I agree with Una. Is that Julius and Floyd were some of the biggest opponents and the people who opposed Zuma's leadership during his time as president. Remember, Floyd and Julius termed the concept Zuma must fall, and then later said Gupta must fall, saying that Zuma and the Guptas is the same thing. So I don't think Zuma trusts him, but I think Zuma is using the disagreement between Julius and Floyd and the internal politics of the EFF to his benefit. And I must say, Jacob Zuma is a brilliant and a very strategic politician. So in politics, it's a good move by Zuma, but it's also a bad move by Floyd. A question by William is actually a really good question. William is asking, is Floyd taking votes with him? I don't think so. The EFF is a quite loyal base. Their voters is mostly young people who have decided not to go with mainstream politics and doesn't want to get involved in terms of the traditional politics or the traditional type of party politics. So the EFF supporter is someone completely different. It's a younger person, and it's across the racial and ethnic spectrum. So if we break down the votes of the MK, then we'll see it has a large Zulu base, and further research is needed to go into the EFF's followers and their support. But the central figure around the EFF is Julius Malema. But then EFF party members and their supporters also have identities. They identify as fighters. They identify in the bigger vision of the EFF. So these are independent thinkers. So I do not think that Floyd is taking any votes with him. So once again, come back. I don't think Floyd made a really good choice here in moving. But we don't know what happened behind the scenes in the EFF. Then MJ is saying that this was a calculated move, but one he might later regret. I agree with you, MJ, is that I think Floyd already regrets this particular move. But I would say this, when brothers and families fight, it becomes so personal and so emotional that you cannot see clearly. And I think this is the particular situation. Floyd got so emotional that he couldn't think 5 or 10 years from now. But then again, we never know what Jacob Zuma promised Floyd. And then Rod made another a comment. Rod says Floyd could not stand for president in the EFF because Julius is a dictator, and this would divide the party into two. He takes a chance with the biggest snake. I'm sure he thinks if Zuma dies, he's top dog. If Zuma passes on, which is going to take a while before Mzolozi passes on, he's still strong. I think he can go for another term. He's clear of mind. Zuma is still dancing, so let's not wish any death on Jacob Zuma. But I would say this, Zuma is only in the interest of him and his family, and I think his family shares the same. That's just the type of politics that we have seen over the years when it comes to Jacob Zuma. So Floyd, being a national organizer now, clearly is not earmarked to become the big dog or the top dog or within the MK party. With regards to the statement that Julius Malema is a dictator, I don't think dictator works in this particular context, because you need to be a dictator when you are in control of the government and then things work. But he might be a dictator within a party. So is that the right thing to do? I don't know. So far, Julius' strategy as the party leader, being the central figure and believe in democratic centrism, is where the party and the leadership and top decides, and then it filters down to the rest of the followers, have worked good for the EFF so far. But as a party that would like to grow and compete in every province, in every voting district, in every ward, in every region, in every municipality, he might have to adapt his leadership abilities and his likability. And I think he has started with it. Since the elections, I've seen a significant change with Julius, and I think he finally figures out that politics is also about being a likable figure. So that's my thoughts on the ongoing saga within the EFF. But I do think it's an interesting development, but I don't think Floyd's move to the MK party have affected the EFF as much as he hoped, and as the MK party and as other oppositions of the EFF party thought it would. I really don't think so. I think people underestimate the EFF. They underestimate the followers of the EFF. They think the EFF supporters is this hard-headed people who doesn't talk sense, and people would be surprised who is EFF supporters. It's from lawyers, it's doctors, it's academics, it's young people. There is almost every university, the EFF student command is in control, because that's where the EFF have strategically placed them, is within these places where they can think and they can argue. So this image that the media is creating of the EFF, I think, is not a good one, and it's completely incorrect, and it serves a particular political narrative and a political class in South Africa. That's why the EFF, the supporters, and even the president of the EFF is painted in a specific way. It is aiding a very conservative and a capitalist type of politics in South Africa, which the EFF opposes. So that's my thought on the ongoing leadership saga within the EFF. The next episode will not be about the EFF. I think I'm going to shift my attention to the DA and why the DA is currently outmaneuvering the ANC in all aspects in terms of government. And I think there's an important conversation we need to have with regards to that. I also see Gator McKenzie are making strategic moves, which is outmaneuvering the ANC. So that's interesting conversations I'm going to have in following episodes. Thank you for watching. I'm Jacob Cloete, and this was another episode of Raw and Uncut on the Abrasive Conversations platform.